is back.
He's not mentally right and he had other things on his mind and wasn't concentrating on the World Cup. Did that surprise you?
It did, because long while ago when I managed, but I had a golden rule. I would never criticise players, my own players, publicly. I would, you know, behind closed doors, and then quite viciously if I thought they needed it, you know, without any restraint. But on the other hand, to do it publicly it lays yourself open a little bit. But on the other hand, you may say that since he did do it to the young man, you know, he is a very young man, he's highly skillful, but he's still very young in terms of experience, it didn't seem to do any harm.
Well, he didn't do it till after the game.
No, but I mean, no, but in terms of leaving him out, which was a little as if to say, look, you're not perfect yet, young man, you've got something to learn, right? And I'm leaving you out, I can do without you. That in itself was psychologically good. It looked as if that worked. Didn't get the right result, but it looked as if that worked. But I still don't believe personally that you get a response from players by criticising them publicly in general.
Mark, it seemed to stem from the Alex Ferguson remarks about whether Beckham should or should not be in the side, and the fact that he criticised Glen Hoddle for putting him up at the press conference after he'd let him out. But to condemn Alex Ferguson saying he shouldn't do that publicly and then do it himself seems a bit strange, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely with Jimmy in the fact that, you know, fine, you criticise your players behind closed doors, but once you get out there in front of the press, you know, you defend them. You will defend them to the hilt, and it's something certainly that Alex Ferguson has done with all his players at Old Trafford. But I think also with Hoddle, I think, you know, the things he said earlier in the season about Michael Owen, saying he's not a goal scorer, you know, have to watch himself off the pitch. And you know, I think Roy Evans then had a go at Glen Hoddle, saying, hold on a minute, you know, he's a perfect example. He's the kid next door, he's not a problem, trains well, you know, he's in fantastic form this season. I think you've got to be very, very careful with players. And, you know, fine, say what you want to them in the confines of the dressing room, but, you know, publicly, I mean, they're the best players in the world as far as the manager's concerned.
Ali, Mark's mentioned Michael Owen. He's intimated that he's going to start. He's got to, hasn't he?
Got to start. There's no doubt about it. In my book, he should have started the first game. But if I could just go back to that issue earlier on here, how's Beckham feeling at this moment in time? He's basically been criticised by the manager for his mental attitude not being right for the World Cup finals. I mean, come on. The English people must be saying, wait a minute, if one of our players isn't up for the World Cup finals, he's got a mental problem, what's happening? That's my view on it.
He's probably wanted to add a bit of spice to his game, do you think?
That's a very bad pun.
Owen must play.
Before, I think we'd all agree on that. Even the England
we all agree on both issues.
But on the other hand, give credit for Anderton, you know, the one who he left him out for, and a lot of people were ready to dive in there and say, he's made a mistake. It didn't appear that he'd made a mistake. He judged his form and his current fitness very well indeed, and had the courage to play him against the wishes of the public.
I was going to say, guys, the other thing, and that I think is probably the most important issue out of everything, is he's only got one left-sided player. It was always going to be a problem. You cannot afford to take one left-sided player. There's no possible way. You can't get away. If you take two, nobody gets injured. You take one, there's going to be a problem.
All you can hope is that what's happened to Lasso in that particular match doesn't get any worse if England go on, because, there isn't a natural left-footed replacement.
No.
OK. I'm sorry, Ali, we've got to move to this. I know you don't want to.
Get the tissues ready.
Scotland's dream came to a disappointing end last night, and once again they've had to make an early departure. Hazel Irvine was there to bid them farewell.
At 3 o'clock this afternoon, Scotland packed their bags and started their journey home, leaving Saint-Rémy de Provence with mixed memories of their World Cup campaign.
We had a good old chinwag into the early hours. We reminisced about everything that had happened over the 3 weeks in France. The good times, the good parts about our performances. What could have been, what should have happened, and what wasn't given, really.
We thought that the balance of the team was right for last night's fixture. Unfortunately, two amazing errors, uncharacteristic errors, cost us the first 2 goals. And of course then we were chasing the game and reduced to 10 men. Decisions didn't quite go for us, and of course we're eliminated. But the blunt truth is, I think we've got to admit that 16 teams are leaving the tournament. We're one of them, And I think we've got to say we weren't quite good enough.
So it's goodbye to Scotland and also to its huge tartan army.
The World Cup will miss them. As I gather, the Bordeaux Council today have put a full page in one of the local, well, one of the major papers in Scotland to thank the whole support for how they've managed to make the whole World Cup so colourful and enjoyable.
I can't imagine any other country in the world having such fantastic support, and we are desperately disappointed that we didn't produce the result that the fans so eagerly wanted. But my memory will be walking away with my head down into the tunnel, but hearing the singing and seeing the players going round to acknowledge the contribution of the support.
Despite some tears on the terracing, the fans will now regroup and prepare to march into the new millennium with Craig Brown in Scotland in their quest to qualify for the European Championships in the year 2000.
I'm happy to continue with the squad. I've been asked to do so, I've agreed to do so. I'll have a look at the situation at the start of the season, see if there are any young, fresh players who will improve the side, and have no hesitation in using them. But I'm not displeased with the nucleus of the squad we've got.
Euro 2000, Belgium and Holland, I gather, so we've got to qualify first. I think teams in our group will now think, you know, Scotland could be one of the threats in our group to start with. But the first aim is for us to qualify and possibly go one better this next time.
That long road begins in September against Lithuania, but the Scots have come to the end of this World Cup trail, and for the 8th time, a bit too soon.
Well, it's time for sleepy old Saint-Rémy-de-Provence to get back to some semblance of quiet normality after the departure of the Scots this afternoon. But what they're now saying around these parts is that it's better to have gone to the party and had to go home early than not to have got an invite at all.
Well, once again, Ali, Scotland didn't make it and will probably be remembered for their supporters again.
Absolutely. But, I mean, if there was a World Cup final for fans, we'd beat Jamaica 4-3 after extra time. No doubt about it. I mean, I've been to all the Scotland games and the fans have just been, I mean, the lads have echoed it. They've been unbelievable, Gary. They've just...
Ultimately, though, the team not quite good enough.
No, I don't go along with the theory that we're unlucky against Brazil. I thought we defended reasonably well against Brazil. I don't think we were good enough. We should have beaten Norway. That's the game that costed it for me. I'll look back in the games. We should have got a result against Norway, and then we might have been able to look at the game last night in a different light, because a draw might have been good enough. So the Norway game, not winning that, was the main reason we didn't qualify.
But you told me just before we came on air that the Scotland fans last night were looking forward to the next one already, weren't they?
I mean, they're singing with the famous Tartan Army and we're off to Tokyo. and I think some of them were going straight for Paris. They had a ball. They were in great form last night after the game, and a bit disappointed, but that's the way it goes.
Well, we wish them a very happy journey. Now to Group C, where France, already through, took on Denmark. A win for the Danes would see them top the group. France made 8 changes from the team which beat Saudi Arabia. The Arsenal pair, Emmanuel Petit and Patrick Vieira, came into midfield. Frank Leboeuf started in defence alongside his new Chelsea teammate, Marcel Desailly. Peter Schmeichel set a new Danish record, winning his 103rd cap. And watching this one for us in Lyon, Trevor Brooking and John Motson.
Nudge, and Michael Laudrup, superb penalty. No chance at all for Barthez.
So all that means that a 3-goal victory for South Africa would see them join France in the last 16. Commentary on this one comes from Tony Gubber.
Into Bartlett, who got away from his man. Amin looked to see whether he was going to... Oh, a superb strike! A great turn by the number 9, Bartlett. He completely left the defender, Amin, who immediately waved at the referee, thinking maybe that he'd been fouled. But Mario Sanchez, Yanten of Chile, waved play on. Mayati, Fortune, oh, it didn't look. Altignat. Oh, it's a penalty. The trip by Issa on number 15, Altinayan, and Saudi Arabia have got a penalty. In the last minute of the first half, well, you just wonder sometimes if football's authorities ought to do something about that, because there was hardly any contact. So, Fonk in goal in the first minute of added-on time to face the penalty of the number 9, Al Jaber. It's 1-1. Saudi Arabia have scored their first goal in these World Cup finals. But I'd have to say it's from a questionable penalty. Here's Saudi Arabia on the quick break. Al-Shahani. Oh, he's given a penalty. Well, Isa with the challenge. They were all tangled up together. And the man from Chile has awarded Saudi Arabia a second penalty. Altinayan. It's 2-1 to Saudi Arabia, but for me, that is a scoreline that requires answers to questions. Nicoleli back to Radibi. Into Bartlett. Shot blocked. 14 Spasana went down. That's a penalty for South Africa. 13 Suleimani penalised. And I wonder if this Chilean referee is just trying to level things up a little bit. 2 penalties given against South Africa. And now Bartlett has levelled the score from the spot kick. It's South Africa 2, Saudi Arabia 2. And in the end, the scoreline a bit fairer, but still some serious question marks.
Well, France finished top of Group C with a 100% record. They will play Paraguay in the second round. Denmark also qualify for the knockout stages despite today's defeat. They will meet Nigeria on Sunday. Sean Bartlett's injury time penalty means South Africa avoided finishing bottom of the group in their first World Cup. Well, Jimmy, there's been some extraordinary refereeing yet again today. I think we've had 6 penalties today, 12 in all in the competition, none missed yet either.
No, it's really is. Sometimes you sort of feel guilty about moaning about referees, you know, but in this case, I think FIFA has made life difficult for them. I think you can't make referees more efficient and more accurate by putting more pressure on them to do things. All you do is disturb the equilibrium, and I think that's what FIFA have done. Now, in doing that, the result of it is that players suddenly realise that referees are electric, ready to put that whistle, you know, in their mouth and blow it, and so they see the opportunity to fall and get a penalty which will win them the game. I mean, there has been unfairness, the two African teams particularly, I think, in going home early. They're probably going home anyway, but nevertheless, they've been victims of really decisions which border on the farcical.
Yeah. Mark?
Well, I think, you know, Jimmy's right with the pressure that Blatter and Platini have put on the referees has been scandalous. But also as well, you have to say, Jimmy, that the referee in that game that we've just watched was absolutely pathetic. I mean, there weren't penalties for me. Yeah. None of those were penalties. Players throwing themselves onto the floor in the penalty area. You know, if there's any doubt, you don't give a penalty. And I mean, he managed to spoil the game today. And it's been the South American referees, I think, who generally, you know, ball's played into the penalty area, somebody goes over, boom, and it's a penalty, regardless of what Blatter and Platini have said.
Quick word on the French, Ali, continue to impress. Great strength in depth in their squad. They brought in Leboeuf today and Vieira, and they're the reserves.
I went to that game today, Gary, and thoroughly enjoyed it. The only thing, the better team definitely against Denmark. Only thing I would say is I think they'll lose goals, and that's why I don't think they'll win it.
Okay, we'll see, and maybe a bit short up front as well. Gents, thanks very much for tonight. Right, we leave you tonight with a pain in Spain. Good night.
No way. It's not my turn to do the washing up.
EastEnders, tomorrow at 7:30 on BBC One.
Are you planning some outdoor social activity this summer? Then you'll need some sensible footwear, something to keep the rain off. And to avoid being caught out, why not bring your own personal hygiene accessories? And remember, behavior deemed suitable in the city is often frowned upon in the countryside. This is a public information broadcast about Glastonbury, the outdoor musical jamboree, which can also be enjoyed at home with the BBC. Live Friday from 9 on BBC Two and throughout the weekend on Radio 1.